paper was supported by Elon Musk.
That's what you voted for. What do you mean?
We don't read.
I was talking about the
So we're just going to about that.
She lost what you voted for.
So what happens when the world's largest economy goes head-to-head with the world's most populous nation, and soybeans become the unlikely battleground? For American farmers, especially in the states like Minnesota, the U.S. China trade war wasn't just about politics. It was about livelihoods. Billions of dollars worth of soybeans, yes, soybeans, hung in the balance as tariffs turned global markets upside down. In this video, we're diving into how the trade war impacted soybean farmers, why even a small tariff can devastate an entire industry, and whether the damage done can ever truly be undone. If you've ever wondered what happens when pigs, politics, and profits collide, this is the story for you.
Looked at what the US's main export to China is, and it's soybeans for pigs. Not even for humans, soybeans to feed their pigs. Isn't that a subservient export? It's pathetic. And also I was thinking, good for soybeans for pigs, you know? Soybeans for pigs are having their day in the sun. I would never, and they would never, to be fair to them, have put themselves as the main character in any news story. Then they're looking at the league table, they're higher than petroleum, you know? They are top of the league at 9% of US exports to China. They can't believe it. I can't believe it. It's a wonderful day for soybeans for pigs.
Well, Josie, just on the soybean for pigs issue.
Yeah, continuing on the soybean for pigs issue, yeah.
Yeah, it could be crippling for China to cut off their supply of American soybean for pigs, because obviously we all know that China doesn't have land on which they could grow crops, or people who could tend those crops, or any familiarity with soy as a agricultural staple, despite the fact that they've been eating tofu since, I looked it up, the Han Dynasty in the 2nd century BC. So it raises an important question, which is, why is China's biggest import from the U.S. something that they are famous for? And there is an obvious answer, which is that Chinese pigs are snobs and prefer the superior mouthfeel and hints of sandalwood and blackcurrant finish of American soybeans.
Chinese pigs live better.
It's a funny way to look at how important soybeans are in the US-China trade relationship. And they're absolutely right. Soybeans might not seem glamorous, but they're a massive deal. Before the trade war, China was buying about $12 billion worth of soybeans annually from the US, making it America's top agricultural export to China. Now let's give American soybeans their flowers. They're known for their high protein content, which makes them ideal for animal feed. And let's be real, China's pork industry is huge. China consumes half the world's pork. But here's the thing. When the trade war hit, U.S. soybean farmers got caught in the crossfire. Exports to China dropped by nearly 75%, and Brazil swooped in to take over the market. That's a big blow for American farmers who rely on China as their top customer. Even now, soybeans are still playing catch-up in that market. So while it's fun to joke about soybeans having their moment in the spotlight, the reality is that this humble crop plays a critical role, not just for farmers, but for entire communities.
Everyone has some late breaking news. China now gets all its soybeans from Brazil because of Donald Trump's tariffs. So you got to think, how much money did the United States lose over this? How much taxable income did the United States lose? So now Brazil is China's #1 importer for these soybeans. They're getting it all from Brazil. So how do you think this is hurting the American people? Because of Donald Trump's tariffs, China does not rely on the United States for this product. So basically, the farmers are losing and the workers and everyone else involved in the soybean industry, which is also people who deliver it, transport it. So it's a big chain, and they're all losing. So, Mr. Trump, I bet Brazil is absolutely thankful for what you did.
As stated before, because of the trade war, China shifted almost all of its soybean imports to Brazil, and the numbers are staggering. Before the tariffs, the US exported about $12 billion worth of soybeans to China annually. After the tariffs, that number dropped by nearly 75%, and Brazil became China's top supplier practically overnight. So, how much did the US lose? Not just the $12 billion in sales. There's also the taxable income from those transactions, the ripple effect on rural economies, and the jobs tied to farming, transportation, and processing. Estimates suggest the soybean industry alone lost tens of thousands of jobs during the peak of the trade war. And it's not just farmers feeling the pain. It's truck drivers, grain elevator operators, shipping companies, and more. It's a massive supply chain, and every link in it suffered. Meanwhile, Brazil absolutely cleaned up. They invested heavily in expanding their soybean production and infrastructure, knowing they could step into this gap. So yeah, Brazil probably is thanking Trump for this one. The big question now is whether US soybean farmers can ever recover their market share. Trust me, it's not easy once you've lost a customer like China. They don't just come back because tariffs are lifted. This is a long-term hit to the industry.
We checked and we saw soybeans are Minnesota's largest export, something like $2 billion annually. A lot of those soybeans go to China. Do you have a sense yet of what this sustained trade war with China would cost farmers in the midsection of the country?
Well, it's funny you said that. I just heard from an ag leader 2 days ago in Minnesota who said that even if there's a 10% tariff from China on soybeans, 0 Minnesota soybeans will go to China because it's a competitive global market. It's a commodity. They will have to go someplace else. And so in many sectors, whether it's a 10% tariff or 50% or 100% tariff, it has dramatic effect on the trade flows. And so a lot of my folks that I hear from here are quite concerned about it.
This really drives home how even small tariffs can have massive consequences. Minnesota alone exports around $2 billion worth of soybeans annually, most of it to China. But here's the thing, as the ag leader mentioned, even a 10% tariff could completely shut Minnesota's soybeans out of the Chinese market. Why? Because soybeans are a global commodity, and buyers will always go for the cheapest option. If US soybeans become too expensive due to tariffs, China will simply turn to Brazil or other competitors. It's not just about losing sales, it's about losing access to one of the largest markets in the world. And this isn't just a Minnesota issue. Across the Midwest, farmers are feeling the pressure. The ripple effects extend to everyone involved in the supply chain. So when you hear numbers like 10% tariffs, they might sound small, but their impact is anything but. So what do you think? Was the trade war worth it in the end? Or did it leave too many farmers and rural communities paying the price? The story of soybeans might seem small compared to the bigger picture, but it shows just how interconnected our world is, and how even the smallest decisions can have massive ripple effects. If you found this breakdown helpful, give it a thumbs up and share it with someone who might appreciate understanding the impact of global trade. And let me know in the comments, what's your take on the U.S. China trade war? Do you think American soybean farmers will ever recover their place in the Chinese market? Don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the stories behind the headlines. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.